professors in the pre-vet program. I'm also a veterinarian, and so it's really exciting to have Dr. Johnston here today to talk about her career.
I went to UC Davis for undergraduate school as well as veterinary school, so I know all about the application process into veterinary school. So if anyone has questions on that, please let me know. And then obviously the veterinary school experience as well, I can talk on that. And then for becoming an Army veterinarian, it's not for everyone, but it's definitely probably one of the most unique jobs you can do or be in as a veterinarian with how much you get to do. So I applied my first year of veterinary school and got accepted the first round into the program. During school is one of the huge perks if you get selected to be in the program. It's called the Health Professions Scholarship Program, or HPSP. So if you Google that, tons of things will come up. It's for human doctors, full active duty salary for a second lieutenant. So that's pretty nice. And you get per diem every day too while you're gone. So that's also, financial incentive. And then they also pay for your veterinary school. So the last 3 years they pay for. So you do have to pay for the first year by yourself. I just took out a loan through the government. So, not the end of the world. I'm still paying that off, but it's not nearly as much as it would be if I hadn't done the program. So I did my veterinary school. During that time, I got to be active duty at a couple really cool places. You can kind of choose where you want to go. They have a list of like 30 places. And so I really put some thought into it, and I went to San Diego and Hawaii because it's basically 4 weeks where you get to, like I said, get paid the full active duty salary and get your per diem and hang out with Army veterinarians and just learn. We got to do a lot of really cool food safety exercises. There was a big practice going on in the Pacific with big, huge naval carriers, and we inspected all the food that went onto those. So we're like on the docks with these huge ships, and it was really cool experience. And then I guess, it was my senior year of vet school actually, is when I went to San Diego for 4 weeks and got to work with some civilian veterinarians and also a couple other Army veterinarians on the California sea lions and the naval dolphins. And that was just like an experience that was out of this world. And they don't actually have any working dogs there, or privately owned animals. So we really just focused on that every single day, and that was really cool. And then after you graduate vet school is when you do they call it your first year graduate veterinary education program. The Army and the military loves acronyms, so you'll see those a lot if you Google things. And it's called FIGV for short. And so that's kind of what the Army considers as an internship year. They say it's not an internship year, but it really is. So you work really closely with them on developing your clinical skills, learning how to run a clinic, and just be a doctor and a captain in the Army. So they do prepare you well for. So I got stationed after that in Yuma, Arizona, is where I'm at now. And I would say my station is unique, but also kind of shows how the stateside mission can be for an Army veterinarian. You get out of it what you put into it. We have very low metrics that we have to meet every month or every quarter, and it's like seeing privately owned animals, how many, it's inspecting food facilities and doing a certain amount of surgeries and a certain amount of dentals. And after you meet those, you can really make the mission what you want it to be, depending on your leadership. Our activity is super great, and they just want us to, but my experience, the leadership is so flexible. Like mine's like, please meet your metrics, and if you exceed it, great. If you're having trouble, like my first quarter here, I didn't meet my metrics because our surgery suite wasn't ready yet and nothing happened. And if you don't have the demand, some sites really don't have the demand, even though the veterinary care cost is so much lower than privately owned practices in most of the US, I say, because at Fort Riley in Kentucky, I think, I had expressed an interest in the military working equines heavily, and Fort Carson at that time did have them. I got my first choice, but she got her third. But none of the sites are bad. They all have specialists to guide you along the way. They all are stationed at specific sites that have a large clientele, so you see a lot of pets. So none of them are bad. And then for my Yuma ranking, I actually ranked Yuma #1. I know it sounds crazy. It's like, why would I go to Yuma? But because the mission is so unique there, they have a lot of like visiting special forces. They have a lot of just flexibility with the mission. I thought that was really cool. They only have 6 permanently stationed working dogs, so it's not like a huge mission. In Colorado, we had 60, so that was kind of like, So going from 60 to 6, it was kind of nice. And then obviously I'm still learning to be like a functioning veterinarian, and I don't know, I think I forgot to mention that you are in charge of running the clinic. Like you are in charge of the inventory, you are in charge of, I have 9 soldiers underneath me and 2 civilian workers, and they try and prepare you as best you can, but no one can really prepare you when you're there and like making decisions for the committee.
For the different branches, I know there's Navy medical, there's Air Force medical, and then you are Army medical. Are they all like in the same in the sense that you're going to get the same type of assistance, or are they different? Because I do know that I have a friend who's Navy dentist and then a friend who's a Navy pharmacist. And so they often go to like random places, but specifically for that branch. Is there any like mixing or any difference?
Army is the only branch that has clinically practicing veterinarians. So we provide care for all the DoD branches, Army, Navy, Air Force, everything. So for example, the Marine Corps base in Yuma, I'm their vet. We have a clinic there too. So I'm in charge of 2 clinics because no matter what base you're on, if it's a Navy base and it has a veterinary clinic, it's run by the Army. So that's also something really unique about our job is that we're working with all the forces, the Air Force all the time. The Air Force has some veterinarians, but they don't do clinical medicine. They do like preventative medicine, which is also really cool. Okay, so speak of the devil, that's actually her. Her name's Captain Knudsen. This was me and her in Fort Carson, Colorado Springs, and that was us at the Military Working Dog Memorial 5K. So just another example of fun things you can do on base. So they had the whole event for Military Working Dog Memorial 5K, and we, did the Army thing and ran it and had a good time. And then I guess that's the right. That is when I was in my basic officer leadership course in Texas, and that would be in 2021. So after you get accepted into the program, either your first or it would be your second year of veterinary school, they send you to 2 trainings. They send you to one called direct commissioning course, which is called DCC, and then the BOLIC or the basic officer leadership course. And that's where they basically show you how to be a captain or an officer in the Army, who to salute, who not to salute, how to address people, how to, just function, how to wear your uniform. So they don't make you go into it blind. This program is really great. And this is us at the M4 range when we got to shoot a bunch of guns off and have a good time and qualify on our weapons. And then on the left here, there's Captain Knudsen again. That's us at the Army-Navy game, no, Army-Air Force game in Colorado Springs, and just a casual 3-star general hanging out there. So we were like, can we get your picture? And he was like, sure. And so we were just there supporting the Army, and we smashed them, which was pretty cool. And then on the right there, that is also me at the basic officer leadership course. So that one is medical specific. So you're with doctors, dentists, human doctors, animal doctors. There's like 10 veterinarians and like 150 human doctors. So you're kind of unique. I can admit that. But they give you a M4 to, have for the week, and it's your little baby and you take care of it. And then we got to see cool ambulances and do a bunch of really cool field exercises on human casualty care. Which is also another really cool thing that we get to do and are very involved in is training the human physicians on casualty care of our canines and how it relates to their casualty care of humans. And it's actually very similar. We follow the same acronyms and things like that. So one of our main jobs is educating the medics that are actually on the front lines how to handle a military working dog should he or she go down. So you make a huge impact there working with these medics, because even if there's the dog handler with them, if the dog handler hopefully knows his stuff too, his or her stuff too, but if he goes down, who's going to take care of the dog? And so we do a lot of training with the human medics on how to take care of a dog. But it's okay, because like I said, I only have 6 dogs and they're pretty good. When I was in Fort Carson, holy cannoli. And it's only for the military working dogs. This was a unique case because it was a really, really cute golden. And it's like, how often do you get to take a fish hook out of a dog's mouth? It's great practice. So I said, sure. But I do that in there to mention that you are on call all the time, which is okay, because you get to see cool emergencies sometimes. I can speak a little bit more to that in a little bit. I have a picture in there, but just something to keep in mind. If you are stationed with other Army veterinarians, they also share the on-call. So that's nice. However, I'm the only one, so it falls on me. But knock on some type of wood, I haven't been called in yet for one of my dogs, so it's okay. And then on the right here, that was one of our military working dogs out in Hawaii. That's why I look so tan, because I just spent like 4 weeks on the beach and working, of course. And then this military working dog actually fractured his canine tooth when we were there. So he had to get a root canal. And so we're not really trained that in vet school, how to perform a root canal on a dog. So another really cool thing we do, I know I keep saying that, but we called in the human dentist. And so we had a human dentist come in with his team and perform the root canal on our military working dog. So there's a lot of collaboration there, and he woke up just fine, and it went really well. It was a success. And so we do that quite often. Our dogs bite a lot of things. It's their job to bite things. So they fracture a lot of canines. So depending on where you're stationed, you may be able to get the human dentist on your side and have them come in and do it. And they're always like, oh my God, yes, can I please come? And they bring like 10 people with them, and you're like all crammed in your tiny veterinary surgical suite or dental suite, and everyone's taking pictures. And it's a really, really cool opportunity to get to know more people. And then they invite you to cool stuff too. And then everyone just invites everyone to everything. And it's really fun. So I actually had a dog in Fort Carson who was 4 hours away from us, and he just whoop, his canine right in half. And so and it was, I think he was like 3. And so we were like, we want to save it, because if you do a root canal, you don't really get the cap put on. So we wanted to save his, the rest of his working life, or else if you have a dog that bites in 3 spots, it unequals the pressure that they bite at, so they're more likely to fracture another one. So we wanted to try and just basically save his career as best we could. And so we contracted out to a civilian veterinarian to do a titanium cap. So yes, it happens. It's pretty cool and very intimidating.
I've seen them before.
Yeah, we have one dog that has 4, so it's kind of scary. I wouldn't want that coming at me. Oh, okay, cool. And this was in the second part of the basic officer leadership course. After you graduate, you go to this course. It's 5 weeks long, and you just get more knowledge of everything you do. We did a really cool terminal surgery on some dogs, service to us. So that was what that is from. And then on the right is from that same training where we're practicing our CPR. I think Captain Shaw, that is who's doing the CPR. She's the one in Turkey. And then there's Captain Knudsen again. You really can't separate us. But there we are doing a CPR scenario on a dog. Obviously we learn it first because we have to go teach it when we get out of there. So we ran through that scenario like 6 or 7 times. So they prepare you with the knowledge you have, because you have to go out and teach it. So they want to make sure that we're confident in our skills before we're, teaching a human medic how to do it on a dog. Cool. And this is, what I was referring to on really cool scenarios on your on-call. So this is me and Captain Knudsen in Fort Carson. We had a dog that had surgery about a week prior, and for some vomiting, and his gastroplexy site ended up being a little funky, so they fixed it, and then everything was great, and then he jumped into the truck against everyone's better judgment, and he did something, and then his incision would not stop bleeding for a long time. And Captain Knudsen was on call, and she did some explore, nothing, and then they called again at 10 p.m., and the dog is just pouring blood out of its incision. And so that's pretty abnormal. So he ended up lacerating his spleen. I don't know how that happens through a closed incision, but he did it. So that's us at about 3 a.m. repairing his spleen. So this is kind of one of those situations where you don't get trained how to do that in school, obviously. So I just remember I was like in the OR reading her a textbook on how to do it, and she's doing it. So you have to be able to be flexible and know that not every situation is going to go your way, but he's doing great. He lived just fine, and he is out there biting people. And this is one of the naval dolphins I got to work with for about 4 weeks. When you're there, you get to develop a project. So I did mine with him and physical therapy for him. So that was honestly like the coolest experience of my whole life. I got to work with dolphins every single day, do ultrasounds, drop blood. And they did a lot of eye stuff. And then also the California sea lions, they have there too. They were like developing a video game you could play with them. And this sea lion kicked my butt every single time at this video game. He would like chase around your cursor and you would move your cursor, and he was so fast, he won every single time. But that's just another example of something really cool you could do, and you can be stationed there. It's a little bit competitive. And then back to the overseas question, if you do get overseas and it's not in anywhere near your top pick, you can request a site your next time go around. And a lot of people will go to Kuwait for their first assignment just so they can select this assignment next. So it's kind of like, oh, you're in Kuwait, probably doing cool stuff, but it might suck. But then you get to come back and work with dolphins for 3 years. So there's a way to play the system so you have better odds of getting a site like that. And I probably would. On the left, we're just doing more training. The military loves training. Every Thursday, you're not doing anything, you're just training. So we run through training scenarios just in case something bad were to happen. We are always prepared. You know, should World War III break out, everyone's ready because we train it every day or every Thursday and kind of every day. So just more training. On the left, more training. This was in a field exercise in North Carolina. We are doing some field triaging on, it's a fake dog. These are both fake dogs, by the way. I know they kind of look real from here, but I think he had like a chest wound or something. And we had to triage it in the field, do a needle decompression and get it hopefully as fast as we can back to the next station of care, which can be anywhere from 5 minutes away to 2 hours. So cool. And then this is also some more unique things you get to do. So this is basically practicing for chemical, nuclear, radiation warfare. So this is like, they call it a mop gear, but you're putting it on and it's literally 1,000 degrees. But that's to protect in case, you know, any of those hazards were near or they think they're in the battlefield. And a really cool area of research right now is how to decontaminate the dog, because a lot of times they're just like, I'm contaminated, and then someone takes the dog and someone's there like, I don't know what to do with this dog. It has hair. We use wipes on our skin. Obviously, it's much better, but how are you going to wipe down a dog's skin? So a huge area of research right now is how to decontaminate a dog. So we were practicing that to the best of our ability. And then also, if you have a military working dog, how are you going to decontaminate the muzzle? Because this dog is freaking out. He's not with his handler. His handler gets sent off to another location to be decontaminated. And so it's like, okay, now you have this dog who's scared and a trained weapon. They are trained weapons, and you have people handling them that don't know how to handle them. So what do? We train them how to handle them. We train everybody how to handle a military working dog. So unique experience. This was one of the dogs in Colorado. We had a day where we went with the handlers and they kind of showed us their side. And so they're military police, and then they have their dogs too. So this is one of the dogs showing us how hard he can bite, and it's pretty hard. And sometimes they'll let you even get in like full body bite suits. I chose not to do it, but my friend did do it, and she said it hurt really, really bad. And this is like a really, really padded bite suit, and they have you take off running, and then they let the dog just go after you. It's pretty cool. Look it up online. It's really cool. And they take you down, obviously. And so this was kind of us getting to see their side of the job. We just see them come into the clinic, and you know, some of them aren't happy to be there, but this was us getting to see them in their natural habitat. And these were some of the military working mules in Colorado, Molly and May. They were so sweet. Just another example of a different kind of animal you get to work on. All of their care falls under us. So any kind of military working animal, it falls under our care. Even in addition to any kind of wild animal that might be on post is also under our care. So I think there's a base in like Montana or Wyoming, something that has a bunch of buffalo. It falls under us. Some of the Navy bases have goats, falls under us. The United States Air Force Academy has hawks. It's us. So you have to kind of be flexible, like I said, and willing to take, you know, charge of the case and be like, I don't know much about this, but I'm going to find it out. And that's kind of like a lot of vet school anyway, is just finding things out. But just another example of different species you get to work with. And another example, this was in the Kofa Refuge down by Yuma. These are the pronghorn. They have a huge population out there that they do like conservation with. And so this was partnered with Arizona Game and Fish. They invited me out there to help them. They do preventative medicine on these guys, the pronghorn. We did vaccinations, we drew their blood, we took their poo, we did a lot on them. And then so we would just go snag them, and then they would have like 2 minutes with us before their temperatures got to like 107 degrees, and we're like just dumping water on them. And like I've never seen this animal before. They just kind of pushed me in there and was like, have fun. So, you figure it out. But it was really unique and, special that you get to work for a purpose, conservation, and help the animals. Yeah, that's this fella in the purple shirt. That is actually the commander of the Marine Corps base down in Yuma. So he's even getting involved. And like I said, you just get to meet a ton of people. Like he's pretty high up there, and he's out there holding on to a head while someone's trying to get blood. So like I said, you get to meet so many people you wouldn't even expect meeting. It's pretty cool. But it's doable. It's totally doable. I'm here, and I was not prior service. I was not like an Army person. I was just like, I want my debts paid for. But that is one of the driving forces of the application process is the letters of recommendation. And like these people don't know you. And so I wrote my own, and so they signed it. And usually they'll want to meet you and be like, and then I think there's like a letter of intent, like, why do you think you're a good candidate to be an Army veterinarian? And so I recommend getting it started before you start vet school because the first year is pretty intense. It's the same process. If you don't get in that time, then just wait till you're out, and then you can direct commission as an Army veterinarian. They still go through an application process, make sure you're a good fit, because the people that look at your application packet, there might be one veterinarian on the board and the rest are just like colonels. So they know if a letter is coming from a colonel or above, they're going to be like, okay, this person has a little bit more merit.
Would you say that the Army is the same, or can you be deployed at any time? What would deployment look like with your job?
Is a very good question. So we don't do the seashore duties at all. There is some lieutenant colonels I know, which is pretty high up there, that have never done an overseas assignment. They've been stateside the whole entire time. If you want to progress for like career-wise through the military, they do recommend having an overseas assignment. It just makes you look better. It's different over there. Things work differently, so you just broadens your skill set. So a little bit different. You can be stateside the whole time if you want. Deployments are unique. So one of the options for being stateside, you'll be stationed at a deployable or non-deployable unit. I am in a non-deployable unit, so stuff would really have to hit the fan for them to pull me and put me somewhere else. So there are already deployable units that stand ready, and all they do is train to be ready to be deployed. So these are veterinary specific units. There's several across the US that all they do is train and do inventory and make sure that they're ready to go should they need to go. And we have a ton of troops deployed overseas still. So they do get deployed, and they'll go to Poland was really popular a couple years ago. So they would go and they would support the handlers, the dog handlers, and the dogs that are deployed. So they're just there to support them medically and also training them on if stuff really goes to crap, what it's going to look like for the handler and medical care for the dog on the front lines.
Okay, perfect. I do have a good question here. Is what strategies do you use to build confidence when working with a diverse range of animals?
Fake it till you make it. One cool thing is the Army has Antech, which is a diagnostic laboratory. You can call their specialists all the time. I call them probably once every 2 weeks because I'm like, oh, I have no idea what to do with this case. And they have equine specialists, they have exotic specialists, they have internal medicine for dog and cats. And then also really unique about the Army is we have a plethora of specialists in our veterinary corps. So after, being a captain for so long, you have the opportunity to do what they call long-term health education. And then you can go to residency for internal medicine, for radiology. They're offering equine internships now. They're offering a ton of things. And you get to get your full captain's or major salary while being a resident out of vet school. And so that's a huge difference. They're probably making 3 to 4 times what a resident is making. And then they come back and they be specialists for us. So at my disposal in my activity, I have a veterinary radiologist that I can call or text or email any time of the day with any questions I have. And if he doesn't know the answer, he asks his internal medicine friend. So you learn the tips and the tricks on how to stall until you find the right answer. But there is always someone you can ask. And I think that's really unique.
What's the commitment? So if you get into the program, how long do you need to continue to serve to meet your requirements?
Great question. So I did kind of the standard. So I got on my first year in vet school. So they played for the 3 years. So then I owe them 4 years. Usually whatever time that they pay for, they like to tack on an extra year. So I did my 1 year in the mentoring program, and then I'll do my 3 years in Yuma. So I've been in Yuma for 9 months now, so I'll still be here for quite a bit more time. And then after that, my commitment to being physically present in the military is basically done. I'm going to sign my whatever termination thing and get out, or I will recommission or redo another contract and go somewhere else. If you choose to get out, then you're on the individual ready reserve or the IRR for 5 years, which basically means if World War III were to happen and we are losing, then they can call you. And they've depleted all their other resources. They've used all the deployable units. They've used all the reserve units. That's also another side option, is being a reservist in the Army as a veterinarian.
Okay, I think we could probably keep asking questions for 2 more hours, but we're out of time. So thank you so much. That was really great for the students to hear and everybody joining us online. Thank you, everybody.